I'm just gonna start right now. Okay, cool. We're recording. So I think topic why. Okay, hello everyone. This is idiots. What do we call this? Idiot Gang podcast. Idiot Cast.
I think it's like
Whatever.
Idiot Monthly or whatever.
Idiot Monthly. Yeah, Idiots Monthly. This is Idiots Monthly month three.
Idiot Monthly
Month
Digest.
3.
Month three.
Well, we
Yeah,
should get another name.
we actually are following through on this, somehow.
All right,
And
did you press record, by the way?
yes, it is currently recording.
Okay,
Actually,
cool.
yeah, it's good. I already tested it like a couple times to see if it was actually getting the sound. It was good, so I think we're good.
Okay. Does anyone else see Akshay frozen, or is that just me?
What?
No, I see actually moving.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he looks frozen on my screen. It's funny.
Is it just me?
It's just. I think it's just you.
I'm
Wait,
moving my
Anudge
hand
moving.
right now.
Hello.
Oh,
I'm
I see
looking.
Anudge moving. I do also see a line on his camera frame, which is
Yeah.
funny.
I see that too, but that's probably his camera.
It's just my
It's
webcam.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. We're fine.
All of
As
you are
long as
moving.
the recording sees it, it's fine.
All of you are moving on my screen, so I think we're good.
Cool.
Okay, so cool. Yeah, Idiots Monthly, month 3. Maybe we'll change the name. Maybe not. We'll see.
Monthly Digest.
What do you say?
Idiot's Monthly Digest.
Idiots Monthly Digest. I guess it is kind of a digest because we're just talking about stuff that like happened. So
That's true.
we'll think about it. Cool. So last time I'm gonna like start writing notes this now because that might be a good idea to write quick notes on what we actually talked about. If I recall correctly, last time, a nudge talked about Pokemon extensively.
Yeah, and flagged the video like 5 different times.
And got our video flagged. For good reason. And Evan talked about some music he was listening to. I'm sorry, I
Yes.
AJR.
AJR.
AJR,
Yeah.
okay. And then there was that one song, Don't Throw Out My Legos. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, I'm glad I remembered that. Yes, fantastic topics, both of them. And it sounds like for today, it sounds like Kyle and Evan both mentioned something they wanted to talk about. I'm gonna be honest. Personally, I don't have a I don't have a specific topic for today. I have like a backlog of topics that we could talk about that like of like general things, but I don't have like a specific thing. So if you guys are really excited to talk about something, I'd be happy to let you guys go first.
You guys take the floor too. I don't really have anything on deck for today.
Okay.
But also
seems
kind
to
of.
be.
Oh, one quick thing. Kind of on that topic moving forward, I also think it would be a cool idea if you guys want to, like for like maybe larger topics of like this interesting topics or like things we could do, like maybe sometimes you could plan those in advance. Like for example, like the talking about the 3x3s and all that sort of stuff.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, we can actually at the end of this one we could try to, if you want, we can talk about. We said the next one can just be our 3x3s for a specific topic, and we can just plan to have those ready for the next one.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think that'd be cool.
Yeah, I think so too.
Okay.
Cool. All right. All right. So Kyle, you wanted to go first?
Yeah. I mean, I can. Mine is more of like a rant than an appreciation of media.
Kyle, I love it. I love hearing you rant about things.
All right. Man. So, if you want to bring up the tweet, Akshay, and like just like sort of stream it, right?
Was this the thing? Okay, the thing that you posted.
Yeah,
right?
I put it on the topics channel.
Okay. I'm gonna pull it up. Let me
It's
just make sure.
a topic near and dear to my heart for people who know me. It's a. I am a humongous Super Smash Brothers fan, not just like competitive or casually, but like in terms of competitiveness. I spent like a lot of my like college life competing, doing tournaments and whatnot, and I still travel for some of the bigger events that happen, right? And I won't, I'll spare like sort of like the in and outs of the logistics of like tournament hosting and whatnot. But I do want to talk about this specific topic because it plays near and dear to my heart when it comes to like esports and whatnot. It is a lot of my adult life was dedicated towards like competing and also like creating events for Smash Brothers. Actually, do you have the tweet up right now?
Yeah, I'm
Can you,
gonna
like, share the
actually
screen?
to make sure we get our videos there as well. I'm gonna share my screen. I actually instead of switching OBS, I'll share my screen.
Okay.
And then let me
All
make
right.
sure. 1 second. Let me make sure this is. Whoops.
Riot Games canceled work on a second fighting game, codenamed Pool Party, in late May.
One moment. I want to make sure I'm getting the correct video inputs.
Yep.
Discord. Okay. And then share screen, and then I'll make that full screen. Okay. I think we're good.
Okay. Cool. All right. So, Riot Games, known creators of the illustrious League of Legends game, which is the biggest esport in the world currently, right? They've been like testing the waters a little bit with like other esports types of games. So they already have their MOBA with League of Legends, right? They touched on a bit of like the Hearthstone crowd with Legends of Runeterra. They touched on a bit of the CS:GO crowd with Valorant and whatnot, right? And that was a smashing success. And they're also like going into like a bit of like the MMOs. Like there has been the talk of like the League MMO for a long time, and
Oh
coming
yeah.
up this year there's gonna be and coming up this year there's gonna be like a test for their fighting game 2XKO, which is supposed to be like the replacement for like Marvel or like anyone who's like interested in League of Legends and also like fighting games. Like this is like their response to like, oh, we're gonna do this. And a lot of fighting game players are really excited for it because it's very hard for fighting games to like really kind of like be new and also take off. Like I think there has to be like a combination of like success stories for that to happen. Like usually you have your Street Fighters, you have your Tekkens and whatnot. There hasn't been really like a new fighting game franchise that has like really taken the world by storm. Um, and Riot known for like their pedigree in like supporting their games and whatnot. Even if like people are like kind of iffy about like some of the balance aspects of like their games, like we know that they're proven like very supporting developers for their specific games. So there's like aspects to what Riot does that like kind of reinforces stability in like all these games, right? Like Valorant obviously came in and became a immediate competitor to CS. And 2XKO is going to come in, and like a lot of people are really excited for the type of content that's going to bring. It's going to bring in like a lot of people who are just like sort of like inside that like League of Legends / like Riot like sphere of influence and get them into fighting games. Which is it's definitely a crowd drawer, right? So I actually like talked about this with a lot of my friends before, and one of the things that like that kind of like prevents Smash from being as big as it could be, despite like being a very, very popular esports watch, is that there's not really like developer support for what we do. Like whenever I host a tournament, right, I host it with my own money. I have to find my own venue, and all the infrastructure that comes with it is like hosted by me. And then there's also the worst case scenario is that sometimes we come into contention with Nintendo because they are very protective of their intellectual property, and there are certain rules that we have to follow in order to get a license for them in order to play their games, right? It kind of goes contrary to like what a lot of like developers like to do, which is like like if there is like an aftermarket sort of like competitive aspect to the game, maybe they lean in on it as like part of their marketing arm. But Nintendo's not really interested in that aspect, and for a few reasons, it sort of like makes sense. So the best thing we can really ask from Nintendo is for them to leave us alone. Like, don't copyright strike my tournament, like stuff like that. And I'll lean into those reasons right now on why like Nintendo is the way they are. When they create games, okay, they are $60 purchases right away from the start till the end of its lifespan. Very rarely will you actually find a Nintendo game that is like ever going to be on sale. They usually release at $60, they stay at $60 until the end of time. All right. And the only time you'll ever find it like less than that is used. But then like after like it's hilarious. Like nowadays, if you want to find like the Pokemon DS games like in a physical copy, you have to shell out hundreds for those cartridges. It's actually absurd, right? But it speaks to the level of quality that like Nintendo puts in their game, right? These are like complete packages. Contrary to like a lot of what other esports do, actually, a lot of esports games like come out free to play, and there's an aspect to it that like make people pay more money after the fact, right? Like there's cosmetics that you can buy, there's battle passes that you can buy, there's a whole plethora of things that I like to call like aftercare, where it's like beyond the first point of purchase. Like there are things that keep people invested into these games. Now with Nintendo, that aspect doesn't really exist outside of like maybe DLC, because once you buy Smash Brothers, right? Like once you say like I want to buy Smash Brothers, you purchase a Switch, you purchase a copy of the game, you might purchase DLC, but after that, the numbers just stop. Once you give Nintendo your $60 for Super Smash Brothers, they don't really have a reason to like extract any more money for you because they completed the product, they put it out there, and you've bought it, right? So the incentive for them to like really care about like what happens to the game after the fact is just not there. They don't do microtransactions. They don't sell skins, right? And the incentive to support that market for like a competitive game, right? When you look at League of Legends, when you look at Fortnite and whatnot, all of that comes through like cosmetics. It comes through like the extra stuff that happens like after you decided to play the game itself. Once you decide to play Smash Brothers, they are extracting no other money from you. You've completed the purchase of the product, you know? And there's a philosophical like dilemma when that happens, right? Because I myself would love to see more support from Nintendo when it comes to stuff like this, when it comes to like, you know, maintaining my tournaments, when it comes to supporting the top players, the top talent of our community and whatnot. But it also comes into clash that like, do I want to make Smash Brothers a game where it's kind of piecemeal, right? It's not, it's never going to be completed, right? There's going to be, if you want like some sort of like aftercare or like sort of like forced service model to come with Smash Brothers, you sort of have to like give out a part of the game, and then like you have people maybe purchase more characters, you have people purchase more cosmetics and all that stuff. That aspect, that incentive is what gets Riot Games all out of bed in the morning and create more content for League of Legends and also support the competitive scene, because that all like adds together and like sort of like creates this like aftermarket beyond the point of purchase. So if you want your completed Nintendo Super Smash Brothers game to sort of like support a competitive scene, you sort of have to go against the philosophy that Nintendo has operated this entire time with like all their games, you know? Which again, it's a point of contention, but I feel like it's something that people don't think about. But Riot Games doesn't have a problem with this, right? At the end of the day, they release League of Legends for a free-to-play game, right? They sell skins for Riot points, which are like they're microtransactions, right? So like you buy cosmetics based on like your favorite characters and whatnot. They wouldn't have a problem, sort of. I wouldn't say. I mean, it's like compromising like an auteur vision for like basically profit. But again, that compromise like also leads to like a competitive scene, right? So I was talking to my friend about this aspect where like it seems like Riot is like reaching towards like other esports, like testing the waters on stuff like this. And I was thinking to myself, what if they did make like instead of like a fighting game, what if they made a platform fighter? You know, like that's like the that's the genre where Smash lies, and it almost single-handedly dominates that entire genre. For basically the reasons I can list are like fighting games are niche in to begin with, and a platform fighter, while the most accessible of like all the fighting game genres, is still a niche within a niche. Like, it is a community that is like based off like grassroots and whatnot. And most of the sales come from like casual players and whatnot too. But I did talk to my friend. Would be like, well, a lot of people like watching competitive Smash Brothers. They just like, it's just that like Nintendo doesn't really have the support systems to like really grow the scene in that aspect, right? But what if we did have that? What if Riot like came in and decided like, oh, we're gonna change the landscape of this. We actually have the money to create an esports scenes from this. Why not they do it, right? And I mean, I'll like there's other examples where there have been attempts at like a Smash Brothers clone to sort of like try to take the world by storm, but those have like weird budgetary issues. Like there's the Nickelodeon game that came out, and it came out initially with like kind of wonky graphics. There was like no voice acting at first, which was kind of odd, and like just overall, there's definitely seemed to be like some budget decisions that they made in order to make sure that it released, right? But what if it was a developer who didn't care and like could actually like pour money into something like this, make a very quality product as they are with 2XKL with their fighting game, and then also provide the aftercare as well. Anyways, that was a great dream to have. Little did I know that dream like was actually in existence. It was like an actual product that they worked on with like 30 to 50 people, and they just pulled it out of the shelves because, like I said, there are many Smash Brothers clones out there, right? Many, right? Almost none of them are successful outside of Smash itself. And one of which was Multiverses, which is Warner Brothers' take on the whole thing, the genre and whatnot. It had Batman, it had Shaggy, it has Iron Giant, it has LeBron James for whatever reason. Anyways, that game is I won't say it's bad. I'll never like say like it's like it tries to be a bad game or whatever. But it was a very notable game that won the esports or it was the best fighting game of the year at the Game Awards. It peaked at like 1 million players or something, and then it dropped. It like dramatically dropped, right? And I think if you read the tweet actually, a little bit like one of the tweets on the thread, it says that Riot saw the dramatic decline of Multiverses, and they basically pulled out the project like all together, right? So now I'm like thinking there was a chance for like what I like basically pipeline dreamed of like happening, and a platform fighter, right, like Smash, with like actual developer support, like it was, and like a central authority for like deciding rule sets and whatnot. That I can't tell you as like a tournament organizers how many fucking problems this would actually have fixed for me, right? And it was just dashed, right? It existed. There was, and they looked at like the market for whatever reason. They looked at the Smash Brothers clone like market, and they were like, "Yo, this thing like it didn't do well, right?" And this very subpar product is what convinced them to just pull out the project. I can't tell you how frustrated I am because of that, right? I can't tell you how I looked at this news, just realized that my dream was becoming a reality, all right? And then at the same time, it like just fell. It like fell flat, face flat on the floor. And all my problems would have been solved. There was like so many like aspects with like the Smash community that like are just it there was like some sort it's a lot that I would need to fix or someone would need to fix that, like, just didn't, right? It just didn't happen, and this would have like been a linchpin in like creating like a structure for our like community. It would have been fantastic. Anyways, right? Just beyond like thinking about like the quality of game itself, just having some sort of like developer backing and whatnot. Even though like we've struck it out and like decided like, oh, we're gonna do this on our own for the longest time, no one in the community can actually tell me that it's been perfect, right? Even now there's like still like drama when it comes to like rule sets, when it comes to like players and whatnot. And all of that like really comes down to the fact that like we don't have a central authority like is that is like really controlling the aspect of our game, right? At the end of the day, esports is a marketing arm of a game itself, right? It's very hard to transform that into something that is like a sport, like a natural sport, like everyone plays and whatnot. Like at the end of the day, the games that we play are an industry product, and the competitive scene that we make is a marketing aspect of that, right? And because we are so detached from like actually marketing like a game for Nintendo to really like sell and whatnot, and the fact that like Nintendo doesn't really care about that, supporting that aspect at all in all fronts, like I don't know. I don't blame Nintendo for not supporting the scene, but at the same time, it's not like we can like strike it out on our own forever, right? The sustainability aspect of it is like very much called into question right now, and I'm just thinking to myself, man, this would have solved a lot of things, just like sweeping down together. Anyways, the end of my rant is that like I hate multiverses, I hate Warner Brothers. I think it's a shame that this never came into fruition. Hopefully, like down the line, they bring the project back. But at the end of the day, like it's not like the Smash Brothers scene is getting fizzled out anytime soon. I just think that this would have addressed a lot of our sustainability concerns moving forward, especially right now with a lot of tournaments like disappearing.
Wait. So for multiverses, it's not their fault that their player count suddenly dropped, though, right? Or is it?
Like,
Yeah.
why did it drop?
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, like,
why did it drop?
you were implying. So you implied. Okay, so a couple things. So you implied that the first attempt at a Smash clone, recent attempt, the Nickelodeon one, was just a subpar product. That I can probably agree with. I mean,
It was
from what you
subpar
told,
product.
from what you mentioned, it seems like it was kind of crappy. Although they did release a sequel, so clearly made enough money for them to do that. So I guess first question, did that sequel was that a better product?
Well, director of the director of that of the first game did not have a hand in creating the second game. So I mean, and I it's hard for me to judge like whether or not something is like actual complete product. What I'll say, or a good product, right? What I'll say is like tournament numbers don't lie, right? If you were to host like a Nickelodeon tournament at like let's say a Genesis, right? They got like maybe 60 people, but like a major has to be at least like 200, 300 people for in Smash standards, right?
Uh-huh.
I would say that it's a failure on like grabbing an audience, but I think it mainly has to do with like presentation, the quality of the game itself, and also like again like you're not making a good Smash Brothers clone unless you have the budget for it. People discount the way Smash looks. If you're not focused on presentation right now, like it just looks really janky when you put it all together. Animation, also voice acting, sound effects, all that like leads into like budget, right? And if someone doesn't have care in like taking care of that, it really leads to what I consider a subpar product and what I consider to be like low tournament numbers, right? Now, multiverses, it's like one of those things where it's like hard to judge because yes, it did break all like those like Steam records for like fighting games, right? And it did succeed at some point. The key component about that is there's actually a lot of lore with that particular game, especially now, what happened was it released, it did all right, like it did really well, and then the numbers dropped, right? And I would say that I myself like looked at the game and I thought like it looked kind of janky. Like again, all of the same reasons as I said before. The sound effects didn't look that great. The voice acting was kind of subpar, and the animations were kind of just like kind of janky, right? And I think that contributed to like everyone just being like, I don't know if I want to like invest too much time into this, and they all just eventually dropped the game, right? And so what the developers of Multiverses decided to do was they pulled the game, right? They pulled the game from being playable, and they actually recently came back with like a overhaul update of the entire game. Now that one in particular, I can say for certain that no one really likes. So whatever the current form of Multiverses looks like right now, no one really enjoys that, right? And I think that whole decline of like them having great Steam numbers and then like them dropping due to like quality concerns and whatnot, and like just people playing in general, and then them pulling the game from the stores and from being playable. I think that's what really scared Riot away. Is what I'll say.
Gotcha. So you seem pretty convinced that the reason why these two other games failed is because they did not have the quality, just the raw quality in like just visuals and game like fidelity, maybe how well it ran, things like that, and not because it was just
Just
the
overall like
gameplay genre
quality,
itself.
right?
Yeah, I don't know, because
Um,
I guess I was
I
understanding.
think the gameplay. I mean, it's hard to separate presentation from gameplay. That's the thing. In
Sure.
fighting games, I would say. Yeah.
I guess I'm wondering if maybe it's just a case that there really is only enough space, like in this niche of a genre, that mainly there's only enough space for something like Smash Bros. And there just isn't enough general interest in another one of these types of games. Maybe I'm wrong about that. I mean, it is granted, Smash is like, I do feel like it's a pretty accessible game. I feel like it could probably be more popular than it is, but I mean, it's not like like I feel like it's maybe the audience that wants this sort of game has already been captured and by
Yeah.
Nintendo, and maybe honestly, if Riot had released this game, it would only just be another like kind of okay in terms of,
It would be another. Yeah.
like, it
Yeah.
would be
No, I
good. Like
understand
it
that.
might
That's
be
like.
very good. It might even be high quality. But I mean, I feel like people like they might play for fun for a little bit, but they probably won't really get into it as a competitive game as much as like League itself. But maybe not. I don't know. Like it's that's my impression at the moment, though.
I. So what I'll say in deference to that actually is two things. One, no one has like. I should be careful about how I say this. I
Mm.
shouldn't say no one has, uh, because there has been a counterexample to what I'm about to say. But I will say that like most attempts to capture that audience has not been a sincere attempt with the same amount of care that Smash has. And I think people like really did underestimate. Like whenever you hear about like these stories about companies trying to like take on Smash and whatnot, you think of like, well, before Nickelodeon and like Multiverses, there was PlayStation All Stars Battle Royale, right?
Yeah.
But we all can look at that game and see that the quality of care being put there was like not as sincere as Smash Brothers. There's just no way, right? Beyond just like the gameplay aspect of it, the actual like presentation of the game was just like very minimal, right?
Sure. Sure.
Um, and the other aspect of it is that there is actually room for a competitor because I've seen a competitor come up and like do pretty decently well, and I'm hedging that they'll continue to do well as their sequel comes out, and that's Rivals actually, right? So Rivals of Aether is like this like pixelated style of like Smash Brothers that came out on PC like, damn, I think it was like back in 2016 at this point.
Yeah, it's pretty
right?
old.
And it's sustained a competitive scene for a long time, right? And while it was niche on its own, they did manage to have like multiple majors throughout since 2016 up until now, right? With generally like very favorable numbers of people playing, and people still play that game. Now they came up with a sequel called Rivals 2, right? And that had a very successful Kickstarter campaign. And it seems like whenever the beta shows up to a tournament for Smash and whatnot, they also have like a good number of people entering as well. So I would say like there is room for competition in the space, and it's not necessarily a niche thing. And I'm not saying that Rivals can't be what like Riot was trying to make, but the studio itself isn't like necessarily like a big budget like product and whatnot. And I think the reach of that would be like pretty limited in scope. I just think there's like a level above what they're aiming for, and it's like closer to what we have for Smash. If it is like a big company sort of like supporting that product, right? So there are, so again, it's like an example of, I don't think there's been many of the attempts, most of the attempts haven't been sincere enough with its budget in order to actually like capture that audience. And the second thing is the most sincerest attempt I see has been successful, and is probably going to be successful after it launches.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
yeah, that's how I see it, and it carved out its own space within Smash.
Okay,
Right.
I'm deferring. You know more about this space than I do, so I'm deferring that to you. You're probably right. So I guess the other possibility is here that we actually know that this game was canceled because of this reason you stated, or is right like because they saw this game fail and then they reacted to it, or is it because of something else?
Oh no, it's hilarious. They actually specifically mention Multiversus if you scroll down a little bit.
What?
Oh.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
No, go down. Go
Wait,
back.
scroll down.
Click back on the.
Go back to the tweet and scroll down.
Wait, hold on, sorry.
No.
I'm on the. This is the tweet.
See where it says. Post?
Yeah.
I can't hear you. What?
Yeah.
Oh, post. Okay, post.
No, yeah, to left.
I had to log in, I think.
Oh my god.
How about you pull it? Oh wait, you can't pull it up. Can one of you pull it up?
I'll pull it.
Well, I don't know. You
thread.
You won't be able to stream it.
Actually, wait, hold on. Click on the article.
Oh, the article. Let's see what we got here.
Yeah, the article.
What is this? What?
Well, I don't see anything on your screen, actually.
Are you seeing what I'm seeing? It's like a bunch of.
I mean, I'm seeing the tweet. That's all I see.
Wait. Okay. What are? Wait. Hold on. Do I need to?
Am I tripping here?
You're only seeing the tweet right now. I have a feeling my upload speed is tanking right now. I think one of you should share your screen.
Oh my.
I am using my Troy internet right now, so I'm not surprised.
Here. I'll screenshot the. I can't believe you don't have a Twitter account, but it's okay.
Why would?
I mean, I respect that. I don't really have a Twitter account.
God, we spent like 20 minutes yesterday in Philly talking about how much you hate Twitter.
Twitter fucking sucks. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. I still have it, like, because I have it. But all right, yeah. Here, pull up my.
See attachment. Let me see what we got here.
So I put a screenshot.
Okay. see. Can I zoom in on this?
Basically, one tweet said, one thing I heard over and over about Pool Party, all the weird stuff around multiverses in 2023 made execs at Riot nervous about shipping a platform fighter. The vision for the project shifted and it was canceled. It is specific. If you read the blurb, right, it says executives at Riot were spooked at what they perceive as failure of multiverses. Right? So it is actually just straight up quoted from the actual the article itself that is the reason why they pulled out. It's not speculation. It's actually just on paper.
I'm surprised they released that information. That's kind of weird. Okay, huh. All right, so that was a reaction. Okay, well, perhaps it was already a very risky endeavor on their part, and then when they saw this, they were just like, it's not really worth it. We'd rather work on something else.
Yeah.
I don't know. That is unfortunate, though.
I think it also depends on like how close it really was to completion. Like, if
it probably wasn't even,
because we don't really know.
Yeah,
I assume it was like still fairly far away from completion, or like the same level of polish that Smash has. Because I don't think that's very easy to get.
Yeah, it's not. You are right, Evan. I think what we could probably like conceivably like guess where they were at in the project was probably around like the concept stage, where they were like conceptualizing aspects of like, oh, what people want to see, what characters do they want, blah blah blah, what mechanics should we like import from like other games and whatnot. And I it would be like, I mean, they still had like 30 to 50 people working on it according to these quotes. And I think there's like aspects of it where they were like at least partially committed to making that happen, and they probably shifted those people around to like other projects after the fact. But I don't know. I don't know how far
30 to
along
50 a lot.
That doesn't seem like a lot for a AAA game.
For something that they are starting on. It does feel like
for like an early stage, yeah, maybe. But
yeah, I think for early stage, but like I think you need way more than 30 to 50 people to like get it into a quality product, right?
Yeah, this is true. Yeah.
Like I think for reference. Oh, sorry, what?
Fun fact though, that is more people than people who work on the Pokemon games. So just putting it out there.
Okay. Yeah. Because I mean, I say that because I think like Legends of Runeterra, which is like low key kind of on life support. So well, they are coming out with new content, but like they cut a lot of people, they cut a lot of content. Like I think even that in maintenance mode / like a little bit of new content, that is like like around the same number of devs. Like I think 30 something, like from Riot. Yeah. So that's why I feel like it's not that much.
So
yeah.
Hold on. So Riot. So currently, Riot Games has League, Valorant, Runeterra. What else?
And TFT.
2XKO is coming out, and the MMO project that they're leading. Is,
the MMO. Yeah, the MMO pipe dream that we have no idea how far it is along. It's probably still several. It's definitely at least several years from completion.
Wow. Okay. Okay, so it's not like they're doing nothing. They have other projects that they're keeping that require a bit of work. So.
Yeah, and League is probably the thing that captures the most attention that they need, and then probably followed by Valorant afterwards.
And then, like for the record, like the league esports scene is in general not doing too well. Like I think it needs, there are some scenes that are doing better than others, but I think as a whole, the sustainability of it is like getting called into question. So it's mostly, like Kyle said, it's mostly used as like marketing for the main game, to be honest, right?
Yeah. It's a reality of any esport that I think a lot of people sort of like have to like face at some point. That all the esports, it's not an actual sport that they're playing. It's not something that like you can just pick up a basketball and go to your nearest hoops and play. Like, these are industry products, right? And what you're doing is contributing towards the marketing aspect of all these products. And sort of like reconciling with that, you also have to understand like how sustainable that is, because it's not a permutable thing, right? It's not there forever once you do play an esport. But yeah, go ahead.
I think in addition to that too, like they're already working on a fighting game as well, just not a platform fighting game. So honestly, I'm already surprised that they even considered working on 2 fighting games at once, considering that it is already not that big of a genre at them. Like, it's big, but like not that big. Like, I feel like maybe I mean, another part of their decision could have been like, we don't want to, if we want to make one fighting game and we don't want to eat the audience of the other by releasing 2. And I know they're not the same thing, but like,
yeah, I don't think that was a concern for them. I mean, I'm talking about a project that eventually got canned, but I don't think it's too surprising that like the initial market research probably returned that it's worth at least trying for, because the crossover on both those titles, people who are interested in 2XKO and people who are interested in Smash, probably isn't that high. Most people who play like Street Fighter don't go into Smash, and most people who go into Smash don't like go into Street Fighter like super competitively. I would say they probably like test the waters and like play the games themselves. But in terms of people who enter like let's say they have a weekend free, right? If they were to go to a Smash event or a Street Fighter event, they wouldn't necessarily like second guess themselves on which event they're going to. They have the game and community that they're committed for. So I think it's not surprising to me personally, but you are right that like it would compete for a lot of attention if you release them quite close to each other. But as far as I would probably time it as, I feel like the platform fighter would probably release years after 2XKO is like completed. So
gotcha.
Yeah.
I do think I think they were probably definitely spooked about just like I think they're probably partially spooked also because of some of their failures. Notably, like Legends of Runeterra is not doing very well. Like they basically scrapped all PvP content there, and it's entirely like a Slay the Spire-esque like PvE game now. There's also like the ones where they partner with indie companies to come out with like more RPG based ones. Like, I don't think those did really that well. I don't think they themselves personally invested that much into those, but I think that like there are some of the failures that make it a bit more difficult for them to like justify getting invested in like an exploratory project that they don't know if is going to succeed or fail, which I can kind of understand.
Yeah, this is true. They did suffer like a quite a hefty amount of layoffs recently. So,
yeah, but that's like
and I think like overall, yeah. Well, I think in that sense, like then they're like, okay, well, what games can we come out with, and like what are we competing against? And I do think that like Smash is hard to beat, right? Like I think like the main dissatisfaction is that like the competitive scene does not have good like pricing support, right?
Yeah.
But overall, like it's people love Nintendo, right? So
yeah,
they love the characters, they love the franchise. So I see that it's like that's definitely something that's very hard to compete with.
yeah. This part is definitely true. Smash, like, it depends on who you ask, right? Because if you ask me, right, the core component of Smash I'm interested in is like more of like the actual gameplay itself, like the competitive aspect. So I refer to it as like a platform fighter, right? If you ask like a lot of like journalists or like casual players, a lot of them describe it as like a mascot fighter, where the key component for them is like the characters, the properties that Smash holds as well, more so than the actual like, or like I describe it as a platform fighter because that's the aspect of the game that speaks out to me. But like for other people, it's these mascots, it's these like very world renowned characters that they really play for, and certainly it is a little bit difficult when it comes to like coming up to with a competitor with Smash against Smash to nail down what exactly people are sticking around for. Um, and I think that aspect is still not like we haven't figured it out fully yet. Like I said, like there are examples of like a sincere attempt at like at capturing the competitive scene.
Right.
But we don't know if that is necessarily the only aspect of it. If we were to pour even more money into a game like that, that it would necessarily turn a profit either, right? So I think in that sense, if you're an executive at Riot and you see if if the aspect of the game of Smash to you is like it's like the mascot fighter, right? And you see like all these like mascot fighters like not do well even with their world renowned properties, then maybe that whatever you think people go into Smash for competitively, and there's like a dissonance between like that and its success, and people are not biting because like they're not Nintendo characters, then I can see why that would spook you, I guess. Um, but I don't know. I don't know. It's hard. I understand it's also hard for companies to figure it out. I just think it sucks for me. That's really it. At the end of the day,
Yeah, definitely.
yeah.
So one thing I'm curious about is you mentioned before that you lamented about the lack of post-launch support for Smash and how it's kind of other than
Yes,
DLC characters, it's pretty much just like a complete package that they sold. And
it's a complete package. The main thing that like you sort of have to like understand with Smash Brothers is that there's a fixed price in which you can basically just get everything, right? Once you
yes,
buy a Switch, once you buy Smash, and once you buy like the DLC and whatnot, there's nothing else. There's physically nothing else you can spend money on,
so,
right?
yeah,
Which is-
definitely. So what I'm curious about is would you have actually preferred that Smash was a free to play live service game in a la a League of Legends or uh, an Overwatch or whatever, Overwatch 2 or that sort of thing.
yeah,
Because
yeah,
because I do feel like
yeah,
the content, like I'm sure you have a very complex answer to this, but like the context is that it seems like a lot of people, I don't know actually know how true this is. People like are kind of have mixed feelings about that sort of business model, um,
yeah.
for various reasons. But yeah, I was like, would you if you had to pick between two worlds of like Smash being another Nintendo game, this pristine packaged game, $60 you pay for it, you get a great
Yeah.
experience, or would you prefer it to be this a free to play, you have microtransaction based sort of experience?
Yeah, so it's a very interesting question. Like I actually have asked myself like many times, and I like gone back and forth on this. Um, when you buy Super Mario Odyssey for $60, you get the complete package. You get everything that is advertised, and there's nothing piecemeal about it, right? And it's a single player game. And I think a lot of the prestige that Nintendo wants to maintain comes from that exact philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
What I prefer is a little bit more tricky, right? If you ask the Nintendo fan in me, right? Of course I want a complete package. Of course I want like my Nintendo games to come full package, free of like sort of like the compromise a lot of like games come out in these days in like these unfinished states, and they sort of like piecemeal together like a complete package later on, right? I would love it. I mean, I as a consumer, right, in general, would love it if the product I buy was not like also tethered to this like live service model and I could just play it anywhere. Like, why do I need an internet connection to play like a single player game? Like, that doesn't make sense, right?
Right.
And I mean, with Smash Brothers, like, you know, it was a very convenient game, no matter like which entry we played, right? We just turn on our console, put in the game, plug in a game controller, and that was it. We were ready to races. Nowadays, if you want to play like other fighting games, right? If you want to play Street Fighter, you have to plug it in, right? Plug in your console, put in the game, wait for an update that like takes a while, right? You have to log into your Capcom ID. You have to like you plug in your control, obviously, right? But then you also have to like there's like dailies that you like it's fulfilling or what. There's also like sometimes like a commercial for I don't know, I think, but yeah, there's this whole slew of like baggage that comes with trying to play Street Fighter that doesn't exist for Smash yet, right? And I think when I look at that and as a consumer, it's really hard for me to definitively say, yes, I wish Nintendo piecemealed my game and made it a live service game. That is really difficult for me to say, right? Feeling the greatest talents, best of their abilities, And then I look at the prize pot and it's like $200 fucking. It doesn't even cover like travel. It doesn't cover the entry fee of the fucking tournament, right? And I mean, I'm looking at myself. I'm like, man, I lost like $3,000 like last tournament. It'd be nice like if I didn't have to worry about certain infrastructures that goes into this. And it'd be nice if we got a little bit more recognition, like I think we should, because I think our game is very spectator friendly. But because there's no like extra marketing on the side of our company that runs this game, and I also think that there's a lot of drama in Smash, and particularly with like band players as well. And that comes with the fact that there's no central authority, right? Like maybe if we had a central authority with like a code of conduct panel to help us deal with like problematic players and whatnot, like that's just overall a positive thing, right? So if you ask me as a consumer, right, of course I wouldn't say I want my product to be like live service and piecemealed out to me. But if you ask me as a person who's part of this community that has like struggled to beyond just like prizing and whatnot, like we struggle to come up with a rule set that like is universal throughout all the regions. We struggle to deal with problematic players and like behavioral issues where we're not exactly agreeing on the specific discipline of like people who have wronged the community or they're just like bad people in general and we have a hard time trying to ban them, right? That aspect is horrifying and it should be addressed on like a humanity level. If you ask me about that, like I think the morally correct thing is that like we definitely need a sustainable arm within our scene that sort of like can uphold us so that if we're gonna have tournaments, then we should have a central authority that tells us what to do, right? Um, that's just how I view it, right? It's but I know for a fact that like it's if you were to give this question to different people, and especially if you were to give this question to like a lame consumer who doesn't really care about like watching competitive video games to begin with, like it's a very hard to convince them otherwise. A lot of people would just be like, well, why does this even exist then? Right? Like, why does competitive Smash even exist as a product? But I don't know. Like, I think it's hard to convince myself that this is necessary, but I think it's the morally correct thing to be like, hey, we need to deal with these problems within our community. Like, it's better to have that incentive for Nintendo to really care about like investing in what we do. If I'm going to continue being like a community figure and like continue to run tournaments, it's the morally correct thing to push for that, is what I'll say.
Okay, that
makes sense.
That's
Do you think that if that would, if like, do you think that gets addressed, if it ever does get addressed, then it would make companies like, I mean, I guess Nintendo, but other companies more willing to come back to, like,
Try like
I don't know, I'm trying to think of the right word is, but like, I guess back the scene more, or like be more of a, like, encouraging of the scene at least.
yeah, I think a lot of beyond just like creating a game, right? Because that's like a whole different conversation. That's like a investment in itself.
Yeah.
There's a lot of times where there's been like, I'll say there's like HTC, right? The phone company. They were going to sponsor like a circuit level Smash Brothers like thing for it, like a bunch of
Okay.
events back in 2016, I want to say. Um, but they saw like all like the red tape that it had to do with like getting Nintendo's like approval and licensing,
Mm-hmm.
that it was a hassle that they just like backed out, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of examples of like actually a lot of companies that saw like the potential that Smash has as like a spectator esport, and they want to like give a go at it, but because of again all the legal red tape that Nintendo sort of like puts around its property, and the fact that like dealing with them is sort of like playing this very annoying game of telephone, right? Because who you talk to is like for licensing, and I know this by experience, is like some sort of representative that looks at your ticket and decides like whether or not like they'll be able to approve that. But any further questions that you have for them, they'll like talk to their boss, right? And then the boss would have to talk to some Japanese representative, like contact that they have with like the main branch of Nintendo, and then eventually it has to like lead to like someone who actually makes any of the marketing or like public relation decisions within their company, and then they get back the answer to me. And then like again, this game of telephone, something gets lost in translation, and then maybe I don't even have an answer altogether, right?
Right.
Because that itself is like a humongous issue, right? Well, I mean, companies don't want to deal with that. At the end of the day, the guy at HTC, he's probably just like some sort of like marketing guy who's just doing this so they can get publicity for
Right.
HTC and whatnot. But um, so it's like he has to contact me, and I have to contact another person who has to contact another person, another person, another person. Like, who wants to deal with that, right? And it's only because Nintendo doesn't have some designated person to take care of all of this esports nonsense with Smash Brothers, right? And again, it's like, why would they? They don't earn anything else for continually supporting these things.
Right.
So so to answer your question, I would say that if those support systems did exist back then, we probably would have had, for example, an HTC circuit level series of events, but we didn't. And beyond that, if you want to extrapolate that to like, oh, what about companies who want to make a competitor to Smash? I would say that if they saw Nintendo put an honest effort and they saw something like that circuit series succeed, then they would also be invested in doing so as well, because that is a point of market research that they can point to that this is a success. But anyways, yeah, not the world we live in.
I also wonder, like, well, there's a pattern of this happening with Japanese companies, and I think it has to, like, I think it's the Japanese culture. It's just like, I don't get exactly why they don't support esports, but like,
Yeah.
just there's a lot of red tape and like bureaucracy there, right?
On the outside in, it just seems like a no-brainer to support esports system, like not even just for Smash, but in general, you know. But
yeah,
I mean, yeah.
Like for example, like one of the things happening right now is like the Yu-Gi-Oh competitive scene is also like kind of in flames right now because like One Piece came out, Lorcana came out. Oh, actually, I don't know about One Piece price support. I think One Piece is still a Japanese company, right? But like at least Lorcana, just getting like top 64, top 128, or something. I think like you make at least like few $1,000s, depending on how large the tournament is, right? So like in its cash versus like in Yu-Gi-Oh, if you best case like you win a YCS and you get like a custom Yu-Gi-Oh, or like, not a custom, but you get like a prize card that you can maybe sell for like a few $1,000s. Otherwise, you get like a mat and some packs, and that's about it, right? And I think that's like the main thing is like everyone's fed up with it because like, or all the pro players are fed up with it because they do all this work, they do all this travel, and like it doesn't even cover the costs. The other part is that like currently the decks that are the best decks that you have to play in order to be a winner, like they're
cost a
between
lot of
like $1,000 to $2,000 right now, like at least.
It's funny you bring that up, Evan, because I was actually just reading about that like 2 days ago, and then I ended up watching like some YouTube video that like came up in like a recommended, which was like someone who won this like I don't remember what, but it was like some national, and they're like going through their cards, and it's like, and at the end they put the total price of the card in it, and obviously like Rarity will scale the price of that, but it ended up being like a little over $2,000, and I was like, holy crap, that's insane. I was like,
yeah,
I was like, wow.
And it's also because like their monetization also sucks. This is like I guess uniquely like Yu-Gi-Oh thing, not a Japanese company thing per se, but like at least in the West, like the reason why it's so expensive is because like those cards are just not accessible. Like even in Japan, they make it so that like, oh, there's cheaper versions of the card, but like at least in the West, they just don't for whatever reason.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
but that's not like a Japan.
That's not a Yu-Gi-Oh exclusive thing, to be honest. That happens in One Piece too. Wait, this might be like a Japan thing straight up.
Well, like
I don't know.
So the main reason why is because, or not the main reason why, but like one big factor in that is that like the West has more money, right? So like when stuff comes to the US, it's just there's like a markup. It's like plane tickets, it happens, other stuff as well. Where it's just like, oh, they know that like the US has people who are more income and like are more willing to spend money, so they're like, okay, we can charge more. But that also doesn't really work that well with Yu-Gi-Oh because like I don't know, like I don't think like the cost is just not justified with the amount of like prize support there is. So that's the main reason why.
Yeah.
The cost to win like Yu-Gi-Oh is probably not matched with the prize that is given after you win.
Yeah.
Are other TCGs not also in that circumstance though, like Magic and stuff? Like,
straight up, I know that like if you win in One Piece, you can sell that card for like $1 million. So I think
$1 million is a bit
okay.
Really, that sounds a bit excessive.
It might be excessive, but I did look at like how much it costs, like the price card is, and I was like baffled at the price.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Was that just because like each prize card is unique, or there's not that
Yeah,
many
they're
tournaments, or
specifically
what?
unique. Yeah, it's
Okay.
specifically unique.
Was it also
I
like
don't
a
know.
Nami prize card or something?
No, I think it's a Luffy one.
Okay.
But there's like 3 of them. It's like gold, silver, and bronze, and they're all. I mean, I think whoever won that like tried to sell the gold one, and I was looking at the price and I was like, there's no way people are like actually paying for this, right? But they would go up to auction, and I think it did sell for some crazy amount of price. So
But like that's not even. I don't think that's a good model
yeah,
because at the end of the day, like they're still doing.
My Wi-Fi died. So I'm on my phone now.
Okay. Wait, how are we getting this recorded?
It's not. Until my Wi-Fi comes back on. This happens every now and then in Troy, so I don't really can't really do much about it. Um, I guess I actually so I guess it's only picking up my voice right now for the recording.
I mean, I guess we can pick this up another time. I don't know. I have like time later this month if we want to do that.
Sure.
Damn.
Sorry about that. I don't. Yeah. I mean. Yeah.
It's okay.
Sorry. I don't understand. The internet here back in Troy is just a mess. It doesn't really work. So.
It's okay.
Might be.
I guess in the future, like maybe do this at like a Panera or something. If you're back in Troy.
Oh my goodness. That sounds awful. Okay, maybe. Well, also one of you could just do the recording instead.
I would love to do that, but you know, sometimes I'm not home.
That's fine. That's fine. Evan could do it.
I mean, yeah, realistically, I should probably do it because I have fairly stable internet, but I just haven't set it up.
Okay. I mean, we can pick this up. It seems like we have a lot more on this topic to talk about.
Yeah, I know. That's why I feel really bad.
Yeah, that's okay.
Well,
Crap.
we don't have have to do it like next month. We can do it later this month too. So,